Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be giving my NBA DraftKings picks for Thursday, November 30th. We got a 5-game slate on this Thursday, so small slate today. Still going to go through each position, touch on some guys I'm looking to target at each price range, and give some of my early looks on this slate, some guys I'm looking to target. Like always, guys, if you enjoy the video, make sure you drop a like on the video. I would definitely appreciate it. Also, be sure to subscribe if you are new, if this is your first time checking out my channel. I do really appreciate you clicking on the video. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications as well, so that way you'll never miss out on any of my new uploads. But yeah, guys, let's go ahead and get started looking at some point guards. Alright, so up top at point guard today, up top of this position, we got Ben Simmons, 9,300, going up against the Celtics. The Sixers are going to be without Joel Embiid today. They've already said that they're going to be resting him. So obviously that's a big usage bump for Simmons. But this is a really tough matchup against the Celtics. They have some really good defenders. The Celtics, just so far this year, have been one of the best defensive teams. And when these teams faced off earlier this year, I'm sure Embiid did play in this game, but Ben Simmons only put up 33 DraftKings points when they faced the Celtics earlier this year. Obviously, that's not good for Simmons' price tag. 11 points and 11 rebounds, 5 assists. Just not that good of a game from Simmons. Like I said, there's going to be no Embiid today, so Simmons does see a big bump. Does have a nice price tag on him at 9,300, but I think this is a really tough spot for Simmons. I think the matchup's tough. Going to see Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, two very, very good defenders. And I think there are just other guys I'd rather pay up for today. So I don't think I'm going to be paying up for Simmons today. I just don't think I'm going to be paying up for point guard in general. I think if you do want to go up at this position, I'd probably go with Damian Lillard at 8,500 playing at home against the Bucks. But he's definitely not a guy I'm trying to force into my lineups today. But if you did want to pay up in this position, I'd probably go to Dame at 8,500. A guy like Dennis Schroeder really interests me today, but this price tag, 7,500, don't think I'm going to be playing him at this price, even though it is a really good matchup against the Cavs, who have struggled defensively against the point guard this year. Schroeder did play well when these teams faced off earlier this year, did have like 44 DraftKings points, I believe. But like I said, this price tag is really high. If he was like 6,500, 6,600, which is what we've been getting him lately, I'd definitely be on Schroeder today. But with that increase in price, probably shy away. He's still viable in tournaments because he has plenty of upside, but in cash games at this price tag, I think I'll be shying away from Schroeder. A guy like Lou Williams, really interesting today, 7,300 going up against the Jazz. Obviously not the best matchup, but with no Blake Griffin for like the next 2 months for the Clippers, Lou Williams, DeAndre Jordan, these guys are going to be heavily relied on. Not really Jordan, because Jordan's not much of a scorer, but a guy like Lou Williams going to be really relied on for his scoring. He's already playing a ton of minutes with no Beverly and no Gallinari. With Griffin out, the minutes should just go up even more. Obviously, it is not the best matchup, and Lou Will did see a big increase in price. With no Blake Griffin, this guy's going to be the number one scorer for the Clippers, probably for the next 2 months with Blake out. So I actually don't mind going to him in tournaments. I don't think in cash games going up against the Jazz. Obviously, that's not an optimal spot, so I'll probably shy away in cash. But Lou Will has so much upside. He's going to take a ton of shots. He's going to be relied on a ton for his scoring ability. So if you do want to go up to him at 7,300, I think he's actually pretty viable today, even in a tough spot against the Jazz. And then if we're looking in this mid-tier for some options here, a guy like Eric Bledsoe, really interesting today, 6,800 going up against Portland. Bledsoe's just been playing really well lately. Just looking at his last 4 games, 35, 49, 36, and 42 DraftKings points, been pretty consistent. Has a nice price tag on him at 6,800. For him to hit cash game value on this price tag, we're only going to need like 35, maybe less than that, like 34, 33 DraftKings points. Bledsoe's been doing that lately. And defensively, I'd imagine he's going to see defense from Damian Lillard. Really good matchup for Bledsoe. So if you want to go to him, I think he makes plenty of sense in that mid-tier at 6,800. I'd probably prefer him over C.J. McCollum. If you're going to play Bledsoe or McCollum at point guard, I'd probably go Bledsoe over McCollum. Then if we are looking for maybe some value options here, not a ton of value that I really like at this position. Like I said, guys, it's a 5-game slate, so there isn't going to be a ton of plays. And I don't really want to recommend guys if I'm not going to be playing them. I think if you do want to go cheap at this position, a guy like Jamal Murray at 5K, going up against the Bulls, really good matchup for Jamal Murray. Definitely a streaky shooter. When this guy's making his shots, he does provide a ton of upside. But if he's not knocking down his shots, he's not really going to do much for you when it comes to fantasy. But like we saw against the Pelicans, he put up 31 points, had 41 DraftKings points in that game. 40 DraftKings points against the Magic, got 32 points in that game. And it is a really good matchup against the Bulls, so I think if you were to go cheap at point guard today, I think Jamal Murray definitely makes sense at 5K if you do need some value at this position. But I think it's the position I'm probably going to look to like that mid-tier for a guy like Bledsoe. Or if I do have enough, or if value opens up around any other positions, I can pay up for a guy like Damian Lillard. And I would probably do that. But a guy like Bledsoe, Lou Will, even if you want to go CJ McCollum, those are probably going to be the guys I look to target at point guard today. So I think that's it for this position. Let's go ahead and move on to shooting guard. All right, so at shooting guard, some options that we can target here. If you want to go to this mid-tier, a guy like Justin Holiday is really interesting at 5,800. We did see Holiday finally have a good game last game against the Suns, played 34 minutes and put up nearly 50 DraftKings points, had 25 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds, got 3 blocks, and 2 steals as well. Just an all-around good game from Justin Holiday. Holiday had been struggling before that game, 16, 16, 25 DK points, but really turned things around in a great matchup against the Suns. And this is another up-and-pace spot for the Bulls going up against Denver. So I think if you want to go to Justin Holiday here at 5,800, I think he makes plenty of sense coming off a really good game. I think you can target him in that mid-tier at shooting guard. But one of my 5 plays from that price range is just 200 less than Justin Holiday. A guy that I really like today, Gary Harris, 5,600 going up against the Bulls. I just really like Gary Harris's price tag. Guy's been hitting value a ton lately. He's been really consistent as of late. And he's got a great matchup today against the Bulls, just not a good defensive team. And like I said, Harris has been consistent lately, 33, 23, 32, 26 DraftKings points in his last 4 games. The minutes have been there, 39, 30, 38, 33 minutes. So Harris is playing a ton of minutes, been really consistent, has a nice price tag on him at 5,600. For him to return value on that salary, we're going to need about 27 DraftKings points, and Harris has pretty much been getting just about that, just about every game as of late. And in a great matchup against the Bulls, I think Gary Harris definitely pays off this price tag at 5,600, especially if the game is competitive and it stays close. Harris should see plenty of minutes. So he is a guy I have a ton of interest in this mid-tier at 5,600. And then another guy in that mid-tier that I like is Kent Bazemore at 5,400. He's another one of the 5 plays today. This is a really good matchup for Kent Bazemore. When these teams did play earlier this year, Bazemore did have a very good game, put up 42 DraftKings points. When the Hawks faced the Cavs earlier this year, he played 35 minutes, 14 points, 7 assists, and 9 rebounds. Just all-around good game from Kent Bazemore. And like I said, great matchup against Cleveland. Getting to see defense from J.R. Smith, definitely a matchup that Kent Bazemore can win. I don't know if Bazemore is a guy you want to use in your cash games because he has definitely been inconsistent lately. The minutes have been a little inconsistent as well, 25, 28, 31, and then 19 minutes in his last 4 games. And has been up and down when it comes to DK scoring. 19, 22, 34, and then 9 DraftKings points. And I think this is a get-right spot for Kent Bazemore. I think he gets 30-plus today against the Cavs, and obviously that is great value at just 5,400. So he is a guy I have a lot of interest in. You're going to that mid-tier, that 5K range, as small forward or shooting guard. Kent Bazemore, Gary Harris, 2 guys that I think make plenty of sense today in that price range. And then there is one really cheap play that I like here that I think you can target in some tournaments. Obviously, I don't think he's much of a cash game play, but for tournaments, definitely has upside. That's Kyle Korver, 3,600 in a little revenge game, going back to Atlanta to face the Hawks, his former team. I do really like Kyle Korver today. If you are playing some tournaments, you are playing a couple lineups, you want to throw him in one and some low-dollar stuff, I think he does make sense. A guy that has upside. When he faced the Hawks, when the Cavs faced the Hawks earlier this year, Korver did put up nearly 34 DraftKings points, 23 points, and 5 rebounds. Just shot the ball really well when they faced the Hawks, his former team, earlier this year. Didn't see a ton of minutes. Saw about his normal amount of minutes in that game, 23 minutes. But like I said, it is a revenge game for Korver, going back to Atlanta to face the Hawks. I know this isn't his first time facing them. I believe he's faced them multiple times since he left the Hawks to go to the Cavs. But still, it's a revenge game. Korver, we know, is a good shooter. He has tournament upside when he's making his shots. Going with him and LeBron, pairing that combo. LeBron's always dishing the ball out to Korver to get some assists. So if you do want like a really, really cheap play at shooting guard, a guy that has upside, obviously a risky play for cash games, but for tournaments, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he got hot, shot the ball really well in this game. So Kyle Korver, 3,600, definitely a viable option for some tournament lineups if you are looking to go that cheap at shooting guard. But yeah, guys, those are some guys I'm looking to target at this position. Let's go ahead and move on to small forward. All right, so up top at small forward, we've got Giannis and LeBron at this position. I definitely think you want to pay up for one of these guys today. There aren't a ton of studs on this slate. If we just look through all the studs, Joel Embiid's not going to be playing, so it's Giannis, LeBron, and then The next most expensive guys, Ben Simmons and Jokic, but don't have really any guys over 10K besides these two guys. So if enough value opens up, you're definitely going to want to pay for these guys. I think there's plenty of like mid-tier and value options to where you can fit them in. So I'm going to be plugging in LeBron today. He is one of the 5 plays, a guy that I'm going to be looking to target today. He is going up against the Hawks. The Hawks obviously are not a good basketball team, not a good defensive team. They do have a good defender in Taurean Prince, but Prince is not going to be able to slow down LeBron. Nobody can really slow this dude down, and especially if this game's competitive. I don't think it will be. Haven't really looked at the spread, but when these teams did face earlier this year, it was a competitive game. LeBron did play his full allotment of minutes. Those are kind of the games you want to target LeBron in, games that are going to be competitive where he's going to be relied on a ton. Obviously, that really isn't the case here, but this game could be competitive. It was earlier this year. You never know with basketball. It's kind of hard to predict blowouts. We do have a secondary option in Giannis in probably a much more competitive game if you want to go to him. But right now, I'm going to be rolling with the guy who's just been really consistent lately, has shown plenty of upside this year. If you want to take the $600 savings and go with Giannis in probably a much more competitive game, I don't mind that at all, but I'm going to be plugging in LeBron. Just think this is a great matchup for him. And the dude's been playing out of his mind lately, so even though he's really expensive, $11,700, I think there's plenty of mid-tier options and value options to where you can fit in a stud or two on this slate. And then if you aren't looking to pay up at this position, you're looking for some mid-tier value options, some guys we can target here. I think we are going to want to target some Sixers guys, even though they're in a tough matchup. I think a guy like Robert Covington definitely going to have to step up when it comes to scoring with no Joel Embiid. If the Sixers want to keep this game close, they're going to need guys like Covington, Redick, these guys to step up, score the ball more. Aside from his last game against Cleveland, Covington has actually been pretty solid, pretty consistent, 30, and 29 DraftKings points. He is 6,200, so for 5x, for cash game value on that price, we need about 31, 32 DK points. It is a tough matchup against the Celtics, but with no Joel Embiid, Covington should be relied on a ton for scoring. So I think he's a guy that definitely makes sense if you are looking to that mid-tier at small forward, 6,200. I think he makes plenty of sense with no Joel Embiid. Going to be relied on a ton. Already mentioned Justin Holiday earlier. If you want to go to that mid-tier at small forward, he's eligible here, 5,800. I think he's definitely a good play. And then if we are looking for some value at this position for some guys, maybe 5K and under, when I talked about LeBron, I did say that Taurean Prince would be guarding him. So I feel like Prince is going to have to play a ton of minutes here. At 4,800, I think he's going to have to play over 30 minutes. So you got a guy that's probably going to play over 30 minutes, and it is only 4,800. Could definitely return value on this price tag. When these teams faced off earlier this year, Taurean Prince did play 36 minutes and put up 27 DraftKings points. Obviously, the minutes have been a little inconsistent lately, but a lot of the games where he's played like 20 minutes have been blowouts. He only played 22 minutes against Toronto, and the Hawks lost by like 30 points in that game. But the games that were competitive against San Antonio, against the Knicks, he did play over 30 minutes in those games. So if this game can stay competitive, Taurean Prince is probably going to have to play a lot of minutes to guard LeBron. This is sort of the same scenario when the Cavs faced the Hornets. The Hornets always play Michael Kidd-Gilchrist a ton. MKG has to play a ton of minutes when those teams face off because he has to guard LeBron. So I think that's the same case here with Taurean Prince. I think he's going to have to play plenty of minutes because they're going to need him to guard LeBron. So at 4,800, shooting guard and small forward eligible. If you want to go cheap at this position, I think Taurean Prince does make some sense at his price tag. And I think that's it for small forward for value at this position. A guy like Wesley Johnson is going to have to step up with Blake Griffin out. But I just don't think he's a guy I'm going to be looking to target at 4,400, even though he's probably going to see an increase in minutes with no Blake Griffin. Probably going to see an increase in shots, just not an optimal matchup against Utah. If I'm going to go that cheap at small forward, I'd probably just go up to Taurean Prince for just $400 more if I do want to go for value here. So I think that's it for small forward today, guys. Let's go ahead and move on to power forward. Alright, so at power forward, some options that we can target here. We don't really have any studs here besides Giannis. Our next expensive guy is Kevin Love at 8K, going up against the Hawks. This is definitely a good matchup for Kevin Love. The Hawks have struggled to defend centers. They lost Dwayne Dedmon, so Hawks are probably going to be running a lot of small ball lineups. Obviously, that's not going to pull Kevin Love off the court. Kevin Love's still going to see his full allotment of minutes if this is a competitive game. And Kevin Love does have a ton of upside. We saw that against the Heat. When Kevin Love is making his shots, this dude can provide monster games, 38 points and 9 rebounds in only 25 minutes against the Heat, put up 56 DraftKings points. The price did rise a ton off of that last game. Kevin Love is 8K today, so definitely a high price tag. Don't think he's a guy I'm going to be looking to pay up for. because I like a guy that's a little bit cheaper than him that I think could possibly outscore Love. And that's Al Horford, 6,800, going up against the Sixers. With no Joel Embiid today, I think it's a great spot for Al Horford. He's going to see a much easier defensive matchup because Embiid is a solid defender, and Embiid is going to be resting today. So it's a good spot for Al Horford. And when these teams did face off earlier this year with Joel Embiid on the court, Horford still put up a pretty solid game. 34 DraftKings points, had 17 points and 9 rebounds, just a rebound shy of the double-double. So with no Embiid today, great matchup for Horford. Should see his full allotment of minutes if this is a competitive game. And Horford does have a ton of upside to return value on this salary. So I think he makes a lot of sense today at 6,800. Really solid matchup with Embiid out. I think he is a guy I'm looking to target if I go to that mid-tier at power forward or center. I think I'd prefer him over a guy like Derek Favors. But Derek Favors is definitely in a good spot against the Clippers. He is going to have to play a ton of minutes. They're probably going to need him to guard DeAndre Jordan. So I think Favors definitely makes sense at 6,600, but I feel like if I go to that price range at power forward or center, Horford's going to be the guy that I want to target there. And if we're looking for some value at this position, some value plays, there is one cheap option, maybe two cheap options that I think you can target here. If Kenneth Faried is in the starting lineup for the Nuggets, he could be an option to target for 4,300 if you need value. This is one of the later games on the slate, so we probably won't have a starting lineup for the Nuggets before lock. But when Faried has started this year, he has seen solid minutes. He has been able to produce fantasy-wise. Started against Memphis and played 31 minutes, 28 DraftKings points. He started in their last game against the Jazz, played 23 minutes, 20 DraftKings points. And he is only 4,300 for 5x on that price tag. We need about 22 DraftKings points. And if he is going to be in the starting lineup today, then he is definitely a guy that could return value on that salary. So be sure to keep an eye on him. Hopefully we get a Nuggets starting lineup before lock, but I would say it's probably unlikely. But he could definitely be a value play if he is in the starting lineup. Then another cheap value play that I like here is one of the 5 plays. A really cheap option here, and that's Amir Johnson at 3,800. Going back to Boston to face the Celtics, his former team. With no Joel Embiid today, guys like Amir Johnson, Rashawn Holmes, these guys are going to have to step up and fill in those minutes for Joel Embiid. I'm not sure who the starter is going to be, whether it be Holmes or Johnson. I think Johnson should definitely get the start here, especially since it's a revenge game for him. I feel like the Sixers are probably going to want to get him on the court a ton in this revenge game. So this is a perfect spot for Amir Johnson. Joel Embiid's not going to be playing today. It's a revenge game for him, and he should be starting. So I think he just makes a lot of sense at 3,800 as a possible value play. Even if Johnson isn't starting and they do start Holmes, I still think Johnson makes sense as a value play. When this guy gets minutes, he's going to produce for you fantasy. Only played 18 minutes against Portland, still put up 25 DraftKings points, 21 minutes against the Jazz, 33 DraftKings points. And with no Embiid today, somebody's going to have to step up and fill in those minutes. So Johnson should see over 20 minutes, if not close to 30. Should not have a problem at all returning value on that salary, especially with the revenge narrative. Should get the ball in his hands a ton here. So I like Amir Johnson as a value play today at 3,800. And I think that's it for power forward value today, guys. One more potential value play, though, is Hernan Gomez, 3,700. He has been starting a couple games lately for the Nuggets. If he does start here against the Bulls, could definitely be a value play. Like I said, he did start their last game against the Jazz and played 28 minutes, 22 DraftKings points. I feel like we're really going to be waiting on that Nuggets lineup because a lot of value could determine or could come out of their starting lineup, whether it's Faried or Hernan Gomez starting. Those guys could be potential value plays. Hopefully we get their starting lineup before lock and we can find some value there. But if Hernan Gomez is starting, he does make a lot of sense as a value play at 3,700. But yeah, guys, that's what I'm seeing for value at this position. Let's go ahead and move on to center. Alright, so at center, like I said, no Embiid today, so our most expensive option here is Nikola Jokic, 9,100, going up against the Bulls. Obviously, you can pay up for Jokic today. This guy does have a ton of upside. I don't think he's a guy I'm really going to be trying to force into my lineups today, especially with how inconsistent he's been lately. Definitely not a cash play for me. Obviously, he's good in tournaments. He has a ton of upside. So I don't think center is going to be a position I really look to pay up for today. More or less going to those options in the mid-tier like Al Horford. He's center eligible. You can play him here. Same with Amir Johnson. If you need a value play at center, I think Amir Johnson makes a lot of sense. But there are some other options in this mid-tier besides Horford. A guy like Jusuf Nurkic at 6,700 going up against the Bucks. The Bucks do really struggle to defend centers. They struggle to defend big men. And when these teams did face off earlier this year, Nurkic did have a very nice game. put up 41.8 DraftKings points, 17 points, and 11 rebounds. Got a double-double when these two teams faced off earlier this year. So if you don't want to play Horford today, you want another option, Jusuf Nurkic at 6,700. I think he makes a lot of sense as a mid-tier play at center. And then if we're looking for value at this position, I don't think there's really any value plays I'm going to be looking to target here. Unless we get a starting lineup before lock and we can target Kenneth Faried as a value play. I think you just want to go to that mid-tier for a guy like Horford, DeAndre Jordan, Jusuf Nurkic, even Derek Favors. Those are options I'm looking to target center. If you do want to go cheap, Amir Johnson, he is center eligible. I think he makes a lot of sense today as a value play at center. But yeah, guys, that's what I'm seeing at this position. I think that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel. I would really appreciate it. We are getting close to 7,000 subscribers, which is just insane. So if you are new, be sure you hit that subscribe button. And yeah, guys, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching, and good luck tonight, guys. Peace.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, she shaking fast. Yeah, she dropping slow. What? Yeah, neck on fro. Whoa.